Good morning, everybody. Shift your mindset here with a new episode. And this episode will be whatever the governing body is throwing at you, at us, we throw it back. Why is that? Because everything they do, what they say, you can counter it with their own literature, their own magazines, their own things they produced in the history of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And today we're gonna be discussing, highlighting a thing they said about cults or sects. But that's why we love to have the history of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They tick every box themselves. Even in commenting under the videos, you see a lot of JWs explain themselves, defending their faith. And if you locate that article and if you confront them with what they said and how it's written in that article, you always can debunk what they're saying. And it's too easy almost. So we're going back in time. We're going to 1923. We go to a publication in the Watchtower. It's called The Work of Harvest. And it is said, surely all know that whenever they join any of those human organizations, what are Jehovah's Witnesses? A human organization. Russell wasn't a big fan of a big human organization, but Rutherford, we know he was. So they bind themselves to believe neither more nor less than that creed expresses on the subject. If in spite of the bondage thus voluntarily yielded to, they should think for themselves and receive light from other sources, in advance of the light enjoyed by the sect they have joined. They must either prove untrue to the sect and to the covenant with it, to believe nothing contrary to its confession, or else they must honestly cast aside and repudiate the confession which they have outgrown. So, to do this requires grace and costs some effort, disrupting, as it often does, pleasant association and exposing the honest truth seeker to the silly charges of being a traitor to his sect. A turncoat, one not established. So, exposing the honest truth seeker as being a traitor. How many times did I see that someone who was genuinely studying, researching the scriptures and was telling the elders that they made a wrong decision about something was called a traitor, was marked, was announced from the platform as someone who was marked? How many of us didn't have that conversation with the elders? That they say there is nothing in the scriptures that forbids us to celebrate a birthday, to toast, to have a beard, to wear pants to the congregation. If you were one of them, we all know people who have said things about those subjects were called as a traitor, where they were truth seekers, people who wanted the truth and didn't go beyond what was written, what Jehovah's Witnesses claim as their number one principle. We do everything accordingly to the Bible. Bible. Now they don't have a Bible anymore, but a tablet, and they're just parroting everything from that human organization. But if you said, We want to make you a ministerial servant, but your hours are too low the few last 6 months. Where in the Bible it's written that you have to have at least above average, in the Netherlands it was about 8 hours a month. So do you want to be a ministerial servant? You had to do 10 hours a month and have at least 3 to 7 return visits. Now that's gone. You only tick a box now that you're active. But I know many brothers who weren't becoming a ministerial servant or an elder because of that hour count. No, yeah, you only do 7 hours, 8 hours. Yeah, but I'm working full-time, dude. Yeah, but nevertheless, you're not spiritual mature. You're spiritual weak. We don't want you to be becoming a ministerial servant because you have to lead the flock, shepherd the flock, and all those terms and weasel words coming in. And then someone is declined year after year. Gets depressed, holds a grudge against those elders. But those people were truth seekers. They said there is no baseline of being qualified for a position. That's one. When one joins a sect, this Watchtower of 1923 says, his mind is supposed to be given up entirely to that sect and henceforth not his own. Doesn't this sound familiar to you guys? To me it does. So his mind is supposed to be given up entirely to that sect. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. Your mind is not your own. I am not allowed to have my own critical thinking based on the research I did in the scriptures. The scriptures, they say, they follow word for word, but they go beyond what is written. That human organization is interpreted those scriptures in their favorite way. Not in the benefit of you and me as people following, but entirely for the leadership of Watchtower, of course. So, if you are being baptized, you give your mind to that sect, to that cult. And yes, that's what's happening. We all gave our mind away. We all gave our power away. And it's funny that they are talking about sects, about cults, but they don't have that brightness in their minds that they are ticking all those boxes themselves. Independent thinking, personal investigation is discouraged. Members must give up their own minds and accept the sect's decision as the truth. That's what's happening. The governing body decided. The governing body decided. Every time we hear that sentence again and again. People are following the rules, they are towing the line, they are shoveling the coal for the governing body and for Watchtower. If one stands out, you are no longer that white sheep, you're that black sheep. You're on your way to the back entrance, to the back door. They are marking you. They don't want to interact with you. You never get invited for a meal or a barbecue or drinking a cup of coffee with those beamy guys who are actively have given away their minds. If you are a little bit critical, if you have a little bit left of your own mind and your own thinking and your own feelings, your gut feelings about something, don't you dare to say it out loud to somebody, because you can count on it that it ends up by the elders and you are asked to come into the room. They're gonna make you that you get back in line, that you lose that last bit of your own mind. So, but it's not it's in their own literature. So what they are claiming to be, what they are accusing other religions of, like shunning in 1948, they say the Catholic Church shunning and it's inhuman and stuff like that. 4 years later, they started shunning themselves with their own literature. Time after time, you can debunk everything they throw at the people. Everything. And we throw it back, guys. We throw everything back. So, the sect undertakes to decide for him or her what is truth and what is error. And he, to be a true, staunch, faithful member, must accept the decisions of this sect, future as well as past, on all religious matters, ignoring his own individual thought and avoiding personal investigation, lest he grow in knowledge and be lost as a member of such sect. And they name it this slavery of conscience to a sect, and creed is often stated in so many words when such a one declares that he belongs to such a sect. So, rewind. Slavery of conscience to a sect. To be, the sect undertakes to decide for him or her what is truth and what is error. That's what the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing in plain daylight. They tell you what is good and what is wrong. There is almost no gray area, only in certain blood things or whatever. It's a personal decision. But the sect is, this is true, this is an error. So, how many times did you ignore your own individual thought about something? If I go back in time, I can't count it on two hands. So many times I was ignoring my own individual thought, and that's something a sect, a cult does. So what are you then, Jehovah's Witnesses? There's only one conclusion, because the governing body decides what is right and what is wrong. There is no individual in the Jehovah's Witnesses of those 9 million people who say, hey, I'm going to celebrate Christmas. That's my individual thought. My individual thought allows me to celebrate Christmas because I did my own independent thinking, my critical thinking, and I came to the conclusion that Christmas is a go. There's nothing wrong with Christmas because my surroundings, my country doesn't see it as a pagan holiday. They just see it as time together with friends and family, enjoy a meal, and we don't have to work, we're free, we have a little vacation, we come together. It's that time of the year that we see our whole family and friends, and I'm okay with it. Is there room for such an individual in that congregation? Oh, I'm hanging the Christmas lights because it lights up. I'm enjoying it. I like creating a nice atmosphere, a nice surrounding here. I like to light up. I love lights. I like it. It's romantic. It's cozy. It's winter. So it looks nice. I'm feeling good about it. Is there room for such a person? Is there room for that individual thought? No, because the governing body decides what's right and what is wrong. There's no individual thought. So you lose a member of that sect. You are getting disfellowshipped. You are getting called out into the elder's room. You get reproved maybe. And if you think, no, but I'm still in my right, my individual thought allowed me that I can do this, then you get disfellowshipped, shunned, everybody is turning his back on you, and you're on your own. So this article speaks about these shackles of sectarianism. So far from being rightly esteemed as shackles and bonds, are esteemed and worn as ornament, as badges of respect and marks of character. So they are ashamed to say that they are not in a bondage to any sect or creed but belong to Christ only. So what's described here are totalist groups or cults. But that's what Watchtower is. In 1923, they were describing the future Jehovah's Witnesses. So, members, give up your own mind. Check. Accept this sect's decision as truth. Check. That's what's happening. Independent thinking, personal investigation are discouraged. Check. You can find it in the Watchtower history of all those magazines. Questions from people are labeled you as a traitor, as a turncoat. Check. Because if you have questions, then you are become a burden for the governing body, but also for the elders in your congregation, and there will be consequences. Slavery of conscience is worn as a badge of respect and a mark of character. The more you are a slave of their conscience, the higher up you end up in the ranks of the Jehovah's Witnesses. You become an elder because you are doing their work for 100%. You gave away your mind, you gave away everything from your personality, your character as a human being. You put aside all your feelings, all your gut feelings, all your doubts, all your things, and you gave everything away. You gave your power away to the governing body and to the people higher up in the ranks. So this is it, guys. This is an article from the Jehovah's Witnesses where they're describing themselves as a sect, as a cult, because they tick all those boxes. So start your critical thinking. Don't go beyond things that are written. That are the facts. Then you're a Pharisee as a Jehovah's Witness, because they go further than what is written. And you can throw everything they throw at you back with their own Bible verses, with their own Watchtower magazines, with their own literature. And of course, I know why they delete everything before 1950, because this is history of the Jehovah's Witnesses. This is what is said in 1923, And now they tick all those boxes. So start your critical thinking, start your personal growth, and we see each other on the next episode.